Good morning, dolls, and welcome to Little Gretchen's Workshop. So, I got a very special delivery I want to share with you that came from my dear friend Kat. It is such a precious and memorable gift. I just couldn't believe how lovely it was. And I just wanted to share this moment with you, dolls, here online. So, this truly kicks off the beginning of preparation for the wedding for Sadi and Marguerite. Look at this, dolls, an absolutely delightful bouquet for Marguerite. And I'm just so tickled that she remembered that Marguerite's favorite colors were lavender, purple, and pink. This is absolutely, this is just plain delightful. Dolls, I could just seriously just sit and stare at this and admire it all afternoon, but I'm going to put it safely away until it's time to bring it out and get ready for the actual ceremony. I'm so tickled that she put it in this bright pink box, so there's no way I can tuck it away and not see it. So this is perfect. So I'm going to keep it close by so that it's ready and available when Marguerite really needs it. So now that we have the bouquet, we can go ahead and officially start preparing for the wedding. So I just wanted to share with you a few of the things that I have that I've collected in preparation for this long-awaited celebration of love. So these are some little trays and pans that I'm going to use. Now I do have to do the food for the reception. I also need to make a cake, and I actually wanted to have a couple other little desserts on the table as well. So I'm using some of these filigree pieces to be cake stands and also serving trays for hors d'oeuvres and other finger foods that'll be on the buffet and the reception table. Now, in addition to the obvious pans, platters, and plates, I have some other pieces that are not quite as obvious, but I will be using them to create other unnecessary platters of food to be on the reception table as well. And I also have some really great buttons that are really good size. They're nice and big. And if you cover up the holes with food or with other buttons, they really give the impression of dishes as well. I was inspired by an article I read about a miniaturist who used all buttons to make lots of desserts. Now, this is actually a wreath I actually put together to use at Christmas time, but I've got some new ideas about how to use it. Now, if you look at it closely, some of the balls that I used in the wreath have that kind of a metallic look to them, so I'm definitely going to have to adjust that so that it won't look like metal and that it'll look more like food. Now, I do have another bag of some more items, so I just wanted to show you all the things that I had. So I'm basically just dumping out and pulling out everything I've collected and saved for the wedding and the reception. So you can see where I'm starting and you can kind of get a feel for the things I'm going to need to create. Now, this is a punch bowl filled with sweet tea, so I'm really tickled about that because I had made a punch bowl with sweet tea in it when the dolls had the party for the 1K celebration. So it just amused me that somebody else did the same thing. So when I saw it, I just had to buy it. I did have those ice cubes, and these are the little cups that go along with the punch bowl. Now, I want you dolls to take note of the big platter that I have in my hand. That is actually the lid from some Pillsbury crescent rolls. And I thought it was the perfect size to be a serving platter for the glasses at the reception. So I'm just bringing up the little cups so you can really see them closely. They came along with the punch bowl. Now these little cups that came with the punch bowl filled with tea really look more like champagne. So I actually need to fill some other cups with what looks like iced tea. And I need to go ahead and create a menu. So I've got my work cut out for me. Now, dolls, it's been quite a few years since I've done a doll wedding, and I've never done a 12 scale doll wedding. And although all my dolls are married, nobody ever had a ceremony. Now, back in the days when I did Barbie weddings, I didn't have nearly the resources that I have now. And so I sought some inspiration from some old periodicals that I had. I had a book that I bought many years ago that had a beautiful wedding setup, from the floral arrangements to the cake to the table set up for the reception. And it was summer 1998, Doll's House Project magazine, a really, really great periodical. And it had quite a few things, beautiful images for inspiration and ideas. They even had instructions and patterns, and just like I said, a lovely spread as to the things that are components that would be needed for a wedding. So you already know we already have a bouquet, but I do need to make Marguerite a veil and a dress and a few other accessories to really, really make this day memorable for her and Sadi. Now here's a quick glance of their veil and bouquet. I think my bouquet is much prettier. But I love how this artist made all of the little dainty details that go along with the ceremony. So here is a picture of the reception table. I'm not really sure what that is as far as the food, and I can't guarantee everything that I put on my doll's table will be recognizable either. But I'm going to go ahead and get started with the food prep. But I just had to go over a couple things. I thought this was lovely. It was like sort of like a jello mold, and that would be great to be done with resin and some of the fruit pieces that I have. And I really, really liked the way they had some of the food arranged. It looked like cucumbers and onions and all of those, kind of like a cold salad, some hors d'oeuvres. So I really like those ideas as far as the setup and things that I could use as inspiration for the reception table. And I'm also going to need a gift table. Now I know this really isn't a part of the video, but I got tickled as I went through the book. They had some beautiful pictures of how to plan and create a chapel or a church, even including the altar and the prayer bench. I thought it was so, so cute. And even the pulpit with the minister, it was so just adorable. Now, the ceremony and the reception will be held at the rooming house, but it's really, really fun considering making a chapel or a small church. Now, in addition to the obvious things, I need to make a wedding cake and I need to wrap gifts. And I found another publication that talked about how to wrap gifts for a wedding reception. Now, if you're new to the channel, I did do gifts at Christmas time, and I will leave a link in the description. But this article has suggestions about wrapping wedding gifts using nail art. I was so tickled when I saw the suggestion, one, because it was from 1998, and it was from a lady who lives here in Michigan. Now, dolls, I know this part is random and has nothing to do with the video today, but I found a note from Muriel's Dollhouse from many years ago, and I also found a flyer from the 2007 Chicago show. So I just took a quick roll down memory lane while I was looking for inspiration for this project. So, dolls, this next frame is the picture that inspired me to use egg carton on the outside of the rooming house, January 9th, 2008. Wow. Okay, enough of my stroll down memory lane. Let me get back to the reception. So after looking at some of my container options, I started to pull out some of my things that I would use to shape the food. Now, these are little lids from milk containers, and I think they're a really great size to be like dishes or plates. And I will use them to put some of the food on, so I'm going to just kind of set them aside. But again, they're the perfect size. They stack really nicely. And I got my Sculpey out, and I have I call them cutters. I use them as cutters. They're actually pieces that I cut off from card paper rolls that I like the size of. And I marked some of them so I would know what I use them for. So I would kind of keep certain sizes consistent. So I have several different sizes, and I'm going to use these to make the different layers for the wedding cake. And I'm trying to decide which one of these platters I'm going to use to stack the cake on. Now, these little metal containers are actually out of eyeshadow compacts. And after the eyeshadow was gone, I just pop them out and clean them up and I use them. And this one was also from some type of makeup compact, and I cleaned it up. I think it's a good size for some type of platter. Now, that was this part of the video. I'm just going to allow you to watch me play because I really want you to be able to see how in the midst of play, your imagination just blossoms. You get ideas and inspiration from the things that you look at, the collection of all the things that you have. When you bring them together, they don't look like much, but if you play for a while, you'll come up with something really nice. Now, I got this bride and groom topper. Not really sure. They were in a bundle of something that I got, and I got them painted and prepped for this occasion. Now, this is a little box that I actually made to use at Christmas time. I didn't use it, but I do think I can put something in it for the wedding or maybe to be one of the gifts. So I'll set that aside. I have this little wooden block. It's a good size for a gift. I think it'll be nice. And these are those glass dishes that I got for my daughter from Temu. So I'm definitely going to put some reception food in those, maybe some dip. Now, this is a plastic lid to like a water bottle, and I'm stacking it on top of a button. If it was painted a certain color, it could look like some type of food or a cake. Now, I do have these clay cutters in different sizes, so I'm definitely going to use those for some food items. Now, this is the other piece to that pair from the broken earrings I used as a platter for the Christmas fruit arrangement. I will leave a link in the description for that. Now, dolls, in this frame, I'm just being a little bit random, and I'm just packing the clay mold for one of the layers for the wedding cake. And this is sort of like a old, I don't know, a broken ring or link to something. And again, I'm using it to pack my clay. And I'm shaving off the top to make sure it's nice and level. Always be careful what direction you cut in. Always cut away from your hands, fingers, and body. And always be conscious of where your fingers are when you're using your blade. I originally thought that I wanted my cake to just have 3 layers, but I actually decided that I wanted 4. So again, I'm packing my molds. Now the metal and the cardboard molds are really great because you can allow your clay to bake right inside the molds and they'll pop out really easily after the clay is cured in your oven. Always make sure you use the directions that are on your polymer clay instruction or package. Now, although today I'm using the little molds to create layers for the wedding cake, those molds can be used to make regular cakes, and you can leave the top of it kind of with a rounded top to give it like a mounded look. But again, today this is just for the wedding cake, so that's why I'm making sure they're so flat. And although I'm really happy with these 3 layers, I do need something to cut a 4th layer. And you see I'm checking them here just to see or make sure that everything is flat. Now, in addition to the cake, I did want to make some other food items to be a part of the reception table. Now, my aunt and family always made these wonderful eggs where they'd slice them in half, take the yolk out, and mix it with delightful things, and then put it back in to the yolk. Now, I'm just simulating this look, dolls. It is not an exact replica. I will do some additional things to it. Now, here I am cutting up what will be part of a chicken dish that I'm making, but I'm just using some of my polymer clay that is pretty hard because it was cold, so it slices really easily. So I'm just kind of breaking it off and shredding it, and I will bake it before using it in my dish. So this is basically my reception food prep. Now I'm going to need some green and some white to simulate onions and green peppers and some of the things that I'm making. So I'm going to use this long skinny of green clay for that. Now, dolls, I realized I needed another cutter or mold for another cake layer, so I found the right size toilet paper roll or paper towel roll. I think it was probably from some aluminum foil. And I cut it to the height I needed it to be and packed it as well. So we're going to have the wedding cake on the reception table, but there will be an additional cake for guests in case the wedding cake runs out. That was something I always remember being a very typical thing that they would do at wedding receptions, have an additional cake for dessert in addition to the wedding cake. I don't ever remember anyone running out of wedding cake, but it was just a thing, dolls. So we're going to do it in the doll world as well. Now here again, I'm just shaving off to make sure that layer is level. I don't want it to have a mound to it or for it to be raised up. I want it to be really even and flat. So I'm just shaving very gently that extra layer so that everything will lay flush against the mold. It kind of reminds me of a cheesecake spring mold pan. Now, as a child, many times receptions were a lot of cold salads and meat and bread and relish type things. So I'm going to make some different types of salads, but I definitely am going to need some greenery. So not altogether sure what I'm going to do, but I'm making some pieces of clay that will simulate lettuce or some type of leaf. Now I'm using my dark green clay. I'm going to use this lighter green, and what I do is roll it out super thin and I almost drag it until the leaves start to kind of fray and look raggedy. Now I'm using another layer, a little bit lighter green and some dark green, blending them together. They're almost doing like a marble type effect, but it's super thin, and when it's all broken up, it'll give the effect that I want. So I'm putting all these things in a pan and I'm going to bake them, and when they're hard, I'll be able to arrange them in the dishes I've planned. Now, dolls, if you've enjoyed this video today and you want to see more content like this, make sure you subscribe and always hit the notification bell so you'll be alerted when I upload new videos. Now, I always post on Mondays and Wednesdays after 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And make sure you stay tuned for the wedding reception food prep part 2. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode of Little Gretchen's Workshop. Bye bye now, dolls.